It's your boy Zappa, Professional Stage Ninja, and welcome back to Robot Rumbles. This is Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden, and you're going to listen to me cough a whole lot or read it straight. I think I'm just going to read it straight until I get over this. We are now in the dialogue phase of every stage where all our good old fun time plots happen, and we're finna find out why we jumped into a pre-established world rather than one where we get to watch things play out. What goes on here? Mishiru, any word from the Far East Space or Photonic Labs? We lost contact with them days ago. Ellipsis. Seems the Titans have launched simultaneous attacks on all of Japan's major scientific institutions, along with the EOT facility. That could mean the Far East Space and the Photonic Labs have fallen to them? There's a good chance of that. We just got here coming from the Sea of Japan. Ellipsis. I think the Far East Space should be fine with the Voltes and Cyber Beast Force there. But still, wasn't the Far East Space shoring up its defenses to deal with just this kind of aggression from the Titans? How could they invade Japan so easily in spite of that? You have a point. There could be a special reason. Ellipsis. By the way, Uso, what are the preventers? If you know Gundam Wing, you know the preventers. Hey, yeah, I thought after the Balmar War, all of Londo Bell's voices were disbanded on Federation government orders. Well, we don't have time to explain. Not with the Titans aiming to occupy DC Japan. They want to take control of the Project Aegis, and with Banjo in the middle of the running. No! They want to take control of Project Aegis, which Banjo is in the middle of running. And we came to Japan in order to prevent that. Alright, I'll get the details later. Benkei and I will head for DC Japan. Musashi, you take care of things here for us. Sure thing. Be careful out there. Oh, well, that's not as much dialogue as I had thought. Well, we'll go on from here. We'll take a look at this menu today. We'll make an episode out of that. How about that? Unit info, that's going to show you all of our variable robots that we have access to in its entirety. The Zeta Gundam and its alternate form, the Wave Rider, which is its flight mode, its plane mode, whatever you like to call it, mobile armor. The V-Dash Gundam as a whole, you see its special ability split right there. This one here, I was talking about in episode 1, the bottom attack, will forcibly use the split command after the attack. It is a 1 ammo use, and it ain't too bad for ending a stage, perhaps, because then you're left with the top fighter of the V-Dash there. It's not very good. It's just the head and the legs, which surprisingly you can even have a beam saber. I don't understand. And then your core fighter, which is a further breakdown from the top fighter, which in this game you can eject down to the smallest parts of most robots, including the core fighter, which it's sort of a nice little last-ditch effort should you botch something on, the Victory Gundam. You get a chance to not completely lose the character from the playing field if they've got support spells. I've never really dealt with having this problem, so I don't know if you have to pay the cost of a lost mobile suit, because you can forcibly choose to break down to the core fighter by hitting split again from the top fighter. That's why it has that option. You've got your White Arc over here. That's our support unit for the time being. The Dragon! With a combined ability which we can't utilize yet because we have Poseidon here as well. But anybody who knows Getter Robo knows that's a 3-man band. And we're back to the top. Unit upgrade is what you spend your money on in order to make your robots not as lame. In a long term, you will tend to focus on A, your favorites, and B, your main characters. I find that in many stages your main characters will be forcibly deployed, like it or not, and it's always good to have those folks at least on the level. Otherwise, they could gun straight for Camille here, take him out in one hit, and then what are you doing? You're restarting your stage again. You're feeling bad. I have no intentions for any of these, but for visual sake, I will spend some money on its speed. It will make it a little more evasive. Also fine. Switch is something that most mobile suit pilots will get. Anything within its timeline, they'll be able to jump to. Anyone in the Universal Century here, Marbek, Camille, and Uso, you could dump into another Universal Century machine. Now we're going to put Uso in the well, it forces Uso into the Zeta, and then Camille is just kicked out rather than swapped over, which is silly. We're not going to stand with that though. That's no, we don't do that. Pilot info, you can take a look at your pilots. Your question marks are spells that you will learn a long time. There's a lot of math here that I genuinely don't understand. Your melee, that's for your physical attacks on your weapons. It's represented with a fist. Your range, represented with the targeting icon, is for ranged attacks. Defense is for eating hits. Evade is for not getting hit at all. Hit is your accuracy. And I assume finesse is what is now skill, or most commonly called skill. I'm not sure what that actually affects. Comment below if you know what that affects. Let's get some community interaction. Help me help you find out what goes on. Something, y'all remember, something about the stat page on the others had a kill stat. But now we have our kill stat down at the bottom. This is silly. This is preposterous. Must have been a translation error somewhere. Now, this is fine, so long as we know what's going on. I noticed over here, all the right, you've got a list of other stats. I didn't talk about these stats over here. Let me be consistent, one step at a time, please. We've gone over that. Your SPs, those are your spell points, skill points, unknown skills. Skills in these older games, you don't get to decide. Most characters are going to have the skills that they're going to have. Prevail is one of the typical super robot skills. The lower your hit points, the higher your evade, your defense. Sometimes your attack power goes up with that as well. Your terrain is your pilot's ability to adapt to that kind of terrain. You see, Ryoma is going to be a hot mess in the sea, but then Benkei is a hot mess in the air, and he's flying a unit that only flies. So this is a wee bit backwards. We're going to hop back over to units. And over here we also have terrain, which is the mobile suit's ability. And between the pilot and the mobile suit, I believe they average out somehow. Space is inconsequential for 90% of your roster. Sea is a hot mess on the handful of sea maps because you're either flying or you're stuck unless you've got an A or higher in the sea. Air is typical for flying, and land is for moving along the ground. As far as the terrain bonuses go themselves, you get a terrain bonus for standing in places like mountain ranges and forests, on buildings sometimes, but that only gets applied when you're physically standing on it. If you're flying over it, you get nothing. Which is why early in the first episode you saw me bring the Getter Dragon down onto the ground, because it actually gave him an active defense bonus. Your move is your move range. Type is your typical how you'll typically be moving around on the map. You'll see no matter what this is flying, no matter what this is on the ground. Air land means that you have the option, which was the fly and the land options that you saw over here on someone who's not here. Buh. Your speed, I suppose, factors into evasion. Your armor factors into your defense. And your limit, I fathom, factors into your skill, size, like even modern Super Robot games. The larger or smaller you are in comparison to an enemy, you are more defensive or more evasive, respectively. If you're shooting upwards into a larger robot, it's going to take less damage from you. If you're shooting downwards into a smaller robot, it's got a better chance of not getting shot. But damage works either way. Large hits a small, good night. Yes, let's move on. Weapon upgrade, which is a separate menu from your physical upgrade. Even though you get to look, you can see all your stats. Some weapons, like this Hyper Mega Launcher, do not go in the water. Beams do not traverse the water. Unless it's a beam saber, which is special. You got your crit chance on those. And if you choose to sink a lot of money into it, I suddenly have hiccups now, so it's terrible. You will raise your attack power. More. 465,000 currency for what amounts to about 1,000 more damage per weapon. I believe in some cases that might actually not increase at the same pace. Yes. Modules. That'll come in later. That'll come in much later for robots that have variable parts, special backpacks and whatnot. Parts. These are your bonus equipment. As you see here, we got a magnetic coating. It's going to make us easier to dodge and be good. Propellant tank. If you like to eat up all energy, you use all your best attacks when you can use them. That's good for replenishing one time. I don't know, and this is the case with newer games, that it's gone for the stage, but it comes back at the end of the stage. Here's what I will do, because I tend not to use this kind of equipment. So we're gonna take this one, and because Camille is going to be someone we use on a long term, we're going to give him this magnetic coating. Settings. What are our settings? Grid display, that can stay. The stereo mono, we're going to keep that on stereo because you're silly otherwise. Vibration, it's not going to matter unless you have a active thing. I'm going to keep that on screen because that's fine. Background music setting. What this does here is, as you saw when I when I went to the animation, it played that unit's music, and it ran it all the way through until I watched another cutscene or the turn was over. If we put that onto Switch, it will play the music for the cutscene, and then we'll go back to the default battle music. This is overwritten as per the Trombe trope by boss themes. Unless it is Trombe, then it will 100% override all music because that's how it is flagged and that's how it should be. Save. Very important. We're going to do that. And we're going to make a backup save because I'm the fool. Load does that. We talked about switching weapon. And the next map. But the next map is going to be on the next time. On Robot Rumbles with Colony Drop Cosplay. It's your boy Zappa. See you next time.